Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, India's G20 presidency, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions today, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
Kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepajyotirnamostute Deepajyotirnamostute Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today, we are commemorating International Day of Combating Sand and Dust Storms. Some of the most intimidating sights in the nature are rolling dark clouds of sands and dust that engulf everything in their path. A phenomenon that turns day into night and wreaks havoc everywhere from northern China to sub-Saharan Africa. Approximately 2 million tons of sand and dust enter the atmosphere annually, and sustainable development goals mostly occur in dry and desert regions, but can be carried long distances. Sand and dust storms mostly occur in dry and desert regions, but can be carried long distance to impact regions much farther away. So dust particles circulated by sand and dust storms provide nutrients to marine ecosystems, but can also contribute to the coral mortality and hurricane formation. Sand and dust storms can cause respiratory diseases, heart diseases, heart disorders, and eye and skin irritation, and can also spread other diseases such as meningitis. Aviation and ground transportation can be disrupted by sand and dust storms. Agriculture practices and productivity can be impacted by sand and dust storms, which can also contribute to the desertification process. Sustainable water and land management practices can decrease the impact of sand and dust storms. So, recognizing the sand and dust storms and their negative impacts at different scales are issues of international concern. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 12th July as the International Day of Combating Sand and Dust Storms, Wide Resolution 77 by 294. The United Nations General Assembly furthermore stressed the need for cooperation at the global and regional levels with a view to prevailing, managing, and mitigating the effects of the climate. Sand and dust storms through the enhancement of early warning systems and sharing of climate and weather information to forecast sand and dust storms. The General Assembly affirmed that resilient action to combat and reduce sand and dust storms require a better understanding of the severe multidimensional impacts of sand and dust storms, including the deterioration of the health, well-being, and livelihood of the people, increased desertification and land degradation, deforestation, loss of biodiversity, and land productivity, threatening food security and their impact on sustainable economic growth. In response to several recent General Assembly resolutions on combating sand and dust storms, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification parties officially launched the UN Coalition on combating sand and dust storms, committing the UN system to a proactive approach to combat sand and dust storms, in short known as SDS, and to enhance cooperation and coordination on SDS at global, regional, and sub-regional levels. The mandate of the UN Coalition on combating SDS, as defined by the participating entities, is promote and coordinate a collaborative UN system response to SDS, facilitate exchange to knowledge, data, and best practices among coalition members to promote effective and coherent action on SDS across the UN system and beyond, encourage and promote collaboration on initiatives and actions among members of coalition, including advocacy and funding initiatives, facilitate dialogue and collaboration among affected countries and the UN system in addressing SDS issues collectively, facilitate the capacity building of member states, raise their awareness, and enhance their preparedness and response to the SDS in critical programs and regions. Each year, an estimated 2 billion tons of dust is raised into the atmosphere, according to the report, Impacts of Sand and Dust Storms on Oceans, a scientific environment assessment for policymakers. Even smallest elements can have substantive effects on ecosystem functioning and on the Earth system at large. The emission process are affected by several soil features such as soil moisture, soil texture, surface crust, roughness elements, and vegetation. Once strong winds emit dust particles, fine dust particles are also carried by turbulent diffusion and convection to the higher tropospheric levels. And then large-scale winds can transport them over long distances. Dust particles in the atmosphere scatter and absorb solar radiation and modify clouds and their radioactive and precipitation process. So sand and dust storms present a formidable and widespread challenge to achieving sustainable development in its economic, social, and environmental dimensions. They have become a serious global concern in recent decades due to their significant impacts on the environment, health, agriculture, livelihoods, and socio-economic well-being. Sand and dust storms are an essential element of the Earth's natural biochemical cycles, but are also caused in part by human-induced drivers, including climate change and more sustainable land management and water use. In turn, sand and dust storms contribute to climate change and air pollution. Sand and dust storms impacts are felt in all regions of the world, both in developed and developing countries, and poses several challenges to achieving 11 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 2, goal number 2, zero hunger, SDG 3, health, SDG 6, water and sanitation, SDG 8, economic growth, SDG 11, cities, SDG 13, climate action, and SDG 15, biodiversity, forests, and desertification. At least 25% of the global dust emissions originate from human activities, and in some areas, desert dust has doubled the 20th century. The impact of this phenomena is difficult to control, as the human activity in one part of the world can cause sand and dust storms in another region. However, just as sand and dust storms are caused by human activities, these storms can also be reduced through human actions. Let's watch a short video. There are sandstorms. They are not so common in India.
This dramatic sandstorm was filmed in Niger in early 2016. Sandstorms wreak death and destruction in many of the world's desert regions. They occur when intensely hot air over the desert causes the lower atmosphere to become unstable, leading to strong winds that stir up vast amounts of loose sand. Sand and dust storms can appear quickly and catch people unprepared. Inhaling small sand and dust particles into the lungs can cause serious respiratory problems. Some people also suffer heart stress and eye infections. Fortunately, forecasters are becoming increasingly skilled at prediction. The Barcelona Dust Forecast Center relies on observations, supercomputers, sophisticated models, and expert meteorologists to provide forecasts of sand and dust storms for Northern Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. It provides forecasts to local and national authorities a full 3 days in advance.
Mineral dust has an important impact on air quality and human health, the environment, and different sectors of the economy. To deal with it, World Meteorological Organization launched the Sun and Dust Storm Warning Advisory and Assessment System with the mission to enhance the ability of countries to deliver to end users dust observations, forecasts, information and knowledge on airborne dust. This system is organized around regional centers.
Translating forecasts into actionable and timely warnings for vulnerable and isolated communities, however, can still be a challenge. Greater collaboration among weather, health, and emergency agencies is needed at the national level. Many local and national institutions also need more equipment, infrastructure, and training.
I think the international community should work with national and local organizations to be able to do this work effectively. They may be able, apart from providing the information and making sure they have the information, perhaps also help with training, show them the best examples, how successful countries get this information disseminated. The international community can help with resources, can help with training, and can show them the best working models.
The Gobi Desert in China and Mongolia also experiences major sand and dust storms. Asian countries collaborated through a regional node operated by the China Meteorological Administration.
沙尘暴对亚洲的各国影响都非常大。那么增强呢亚洲各国的有关沙尘暴的预报的能力是非常重要的。它对于沙尘暴的灾害的防治有着非常重要的作用。亚洲的节点是 WMO SDS-WAS， 就叫 WMO 沙尘暴预警咨询系统首批建立的2个节点的之一。而且我们亚洲的这个节点呢是非常的活跃，而且我们已经做了大量的工作。我们和其他的节点一起来完成 WMO SDS-WAS 的使命，它有各项的活动。
Sandstorms do not only affect the people living in or near deserts. Dust kicked out by a desert sandstorm can travel for hundreds or thousands of kilometers, causing respiratory and other problems in faraway countries. Meanwhile, the nature of sandstorms continues to change, posing additional challenges to forecasters. Climate change seems to be increasing the intensity of these storms and altering their regional distribution and frequency. And in many arid regions, land degradation, also known as desertification, is leaving more sand exposed to the wind. In the years ahead, addressing the evolving challenge of sand and dust storms will require enhanced interagency collaboration and more ambitious international programs for capacity building.
It's unconscionable that information that could help the health of the people, information that can help them protect themselves and take measures to prevent the type of respiratory and asthmatic diseases that we are discussing here is not made available to them. And all that it requires is limited resources, not big sums, to do that. And I would urge that all measures be taken to get it done. The poor also deserve to protect their health.
And 28th of 2020, a dust plume of record-breaking proportions crossed the Atlantic from the Sahara Desert. It degraded air quality in large areas of the Caribbean and southeastern US. Now, the Caribbean isn't a stranger to Saharan dust because it regularly crosses the Atlantic from Africa between late spring and early fall, especially during June and July. And some ecosystems even rely on this dust to thrive. But this wasn't an ordinary dust plume. It was around the size of the continental United States. Its strength and size earned the storm storm the nickname Godzilla. Since then, researchers from the University of Kansas have been looking into what caused such a colossal storm. By looking at satellite data, researchers were able to watch as the dust storm built up. And they found that at the beginning of the storm, more dust entered the atmosphere than normal. See, at the start of the storm, the wind speeds in northern Africa were among the highest they had been in 42 years, picking up a huge amount of dust. But dust isn't weightless. Without wind to keep all that dust airborne, it would eventually fall back down, which can be a bit of a hiccup if you want to move dust across the Atlantic. And that's where things get interesting, because that dust stumbled into a perfect storm of 3 different air patterns that were strong at the same time. Let's look at each pattern in turn, starting with the African Easterly Jet, or AEJ. This wind pattern is a bit different from the local high wind speeds that normally pick up dust. The AEJ comes from the east over Africa and moves west into the Atlantic. It's basically always around, and exists because of the temperature gradient between the Sahara Desert and the water in the Gulf of Guinea. Since the desert is so much hotter than the ocean, hot air rises over the desert and cooler air rushes in to take its place. The hot air moves westward, carrying dust particles with it. Its wind speeds peak between May and June because those are the months where the temperature differences are the greatest. And it's the AEJ that's usually responsible for bringing African dust across the Atlantic every year. Now, at the time of the Godzilla dust storm, the AEJ was much stronger than usual because of a high pressure system that had moved into northwest Africa. Air naturally moves from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure, so having a high pressure system right at the coast compared to the low air pressure at the Sahara made it easier to move the dust around, and this added to the effect of the temperature gradient. This helped the AEJ catch a large amount of dust that had been brought into the atmosphere and transport it over longer distances. Now, next up is the North Atlantic Subtropical High, or NASH, which is found in the Atlantic Ocean. NASH is a semi-permanent center of high atmospheric pressure. It's one of several semi-permanent high and low pressure areas worldwide. They form because of temperature differences, ocean currents, and the tilt and rotation of the Earth. Basically, because this is a part of the world where the water is especially cold and the land is warm, air tends to sink, leading to high pressure. Air sinking down from the upper atmosphere generally carries less water, so an area of high pressure normally means clear skies and good weather. So NASH is responsible for the dryness of the Sahara and the Mediterranean region, and in the summer it brings warm subtropical air to the southeastern US. Normally, NASH and AEJ work together to bring dust across the Atlantic, but in an ordinary year, most of that dust falls into the ocean, bringing a manageable amount of dust across. But in the summer of 2020, NASH was anomalously strong. Now, this isn't that odd. Weather can be unpredictable, and any number of things can cause these patterns to fluctuate. But because it was so strong, it caught this massive amount of dust from the AEJ and transported it onward, without dropping it into the ocean. It passed that dust on to the Caribbean Low-Level Jet, or the CLLJ. The CLLJ is an offshoot of NASH, which is located between the islands in the Caribbean and the northern parts of South America. It's strongest in February and July, and weakest in May and October. At the time of the dust storm, the CLLJ wasn't just closing in on its strongest point, it was also feeding off of the really strong NASH, so it was enhanced. In fact, the CLLJ that week was the second strongest one ever recorded for that part of June in 42 years. Probably because NASH was also really strong that week. This intense CLLJ was able to pick up the dust from NASH and drive it home, dropping the dust all over the Caribbean and the US. So to recap, all 3 patterns were much stronger than normal around the same time, creating the perfect conditions for them to pass a huge amount of dust between them. But scientists are concerned this might happen again, because while this event was rare, we could be seeing more storms like this in the future. See, these weather patterns are influenced by temperature gradients, and land warms faster than water. So researchers worry that rising temperatures could make them stronger. And studies suggest that if there's ever a large amount of dust, conditions will be right to transport that dust across the ocean more often. So it's still possible that we could see more dust storms in the future due to climate change, but scientists are working towards being able to predict them more accurately so that we can better prepare for the next Godzilla. Now, if you're looking to contribute your small grain to combat the climate crisis, then today's sponsor, Wren, can help. Wren is a website where you can calculate your carbon footprint, then offset it by funding projects that plant trees and protect rainforests. And it's one way that you can learn more about your carbon contribution and take some action. To get started, you'll answer some questions about your lifestyle, like what you eat and how you commute, so you can see what your carbon footprint is. When you sign up and make a monthly contribution, Wren updates you on how many trees they planted, their forest protection plans, and other projects. And as a bonus, we've partnered with Wren to plant 10 extra trees for the first 100 people who sign up using our link in the description. And as always,
Then we'll move on to other commemorations of the day. Today is also commemorated as Kiribati National Day, the island nation that had an unusual path to independence. Today we are also commemorating National Simplicity Day in US. So it's time to get back to basics and to honor the birthday of Henry David Thoreau, who was born on this day in 1817. As Thoreau himself said, as you simplify your life, the laws of the universe will be simpler. So on this day, look for the bare necessities and simple bare necessities. So Henry David Thoreau was a jack of all trades, an author, an environmentalist, an abolitionist, a poet, but you probably mainly remember him for your high school English as a transcendentalist. He and his contemporary transcendentalists believe in simple terms, see what we did there. The people have knowledge about themselves that transcends all the external forces in their lives. They advocated for living a simpler life to be a better, get in touch with those feelings. Now, we are not telling you to abandon your life and go to live in woods or forests for a few years, but we love the idea of taking a day to evaluate your life and find out what elements of it are simply the most important to you. So this day was created to unshackle people from the complications and hassles and bustle of daily life. As much as technology has made our lives easier for us, it also consumed us and created competition in all spheres of life, comparing lifestyles, increasing the desire for accumulation, more things, and the idea that everyone should be living an extravagant life. A simple life hardly gets the spotlight on social media. That is why this National Simplicity Day emphasizes the importance of directing our focus internally and doing away with the unnecessary clutter in our lives. It is a chance to re-evaluate our needs and understand the less is more. In recent years, the concept of minimalism has become widely popular. In some countries like Japan, people have started to understand that their lives can be much happier and less stressful if they get rid of items that they don't serve them any fulfilling purpose. Minimalism has spread to the domains like fashion, as well as where people are opting for timeless articles to create capsule wardrobes rather than hoarding fast fashion. Henry David Thoreau is born in Concord, Mass. In July 12, 1870. Thoreau moves into the house near Walden Pond for 2 years, 2 months, 2 days on July 4, 1845. And Walden, or Life in the Woods, is published, which is written by Thoreau on August 9, 1854. And on May 6, 1862, Thoreau dies in Concord, Mass., in the same place where he was born. In the same. So it is a chance today to reflect and take stock of what you are filling what we are filling our lives. Those who celebrate this day take a step back and compartmentalize what they need and what they don't need. And this is not just limited to material possessions. Just inventory is also taken mentally and emotionally. Many people purge their belongings, discarding things they no longer need or clothing that no longer fits them. Contributions and donations are also made to Goodwill and other organizations. So when we look at the US, where this commemoration happens, 3 lakh people and 3 lakh number of items in the average American home they possess. Each American home has around 3 lakh items in their home on an average. And the number of Americans who rent off-site storage is 1 in 10. The percentage of people with 2 car garages who don't have room to park cars inside them are 25%. And the percentage of people with 2 car garages who only have a room for 1 vehicle is 32%. The self-storage space available for every man, woman, and a child is in America is 7.3 square feet. The number of toys an average 10-year-old owns in US are 238. So the number of toys an average 10-year-old plays with is just 12 toys. And the number of outfits the average American woman owns is 30. The amount of money an average American family spends on the clothes annually is $1,700. The weight of clothing that the average American throws away in a year is around 65 pounds. The more money spent by Americans annually on non-essential goods is around $1.2 trillion. So take a step back and taking inventory of everything that you own and then purging items that no longer serve any use. You can celebrate this National Simplicity Day. Minimalism is also a growing trend across the world, and learning the art of simplifying our lives, whether it is tangible or intangible, will improve our life for the better. So minimalism means owning fewer possessions, and rather than opting for a few items of quality that will serve us more than many items that will not last long. Minimalism is a lifestyle that is increasingly being adopted around the world to tackle the problem of ever-growing consumption, consumerism, and wastage of resources. So Thoreau chose to remove himself from the society for 2 years to live as simply as possible in a cabin in the woods near Walden Pond, and wrote his reflections of the time down in Walden. We know it's unrealistic to expect you to give up on TV, mobile, internet, and take out for that long, but you can at least live vicariously through them or through him by reducing the amount of time spent on them. And we know that it feels like it's impossible to get through a day without Snapchatting, WhatsApping, or Instagramming, or Facebook, constantly checking your work email, personal email, and catching up on the latest movies, soaps. But try to challenge yourself to take a break from your computer, mobile, and other devices for a day. You would be surprised at how refreshing it can feel to not to constantly plugged into everything that's going on in everyone's life. We are willing to bet that when you log into Facebook, the next morning you'll find you didn't miss much. Whether it's a tiny apartment or a 4-bedroom house, Do you ever feel like you have too much stuff crammed into your home? Use Simplicity Day as an excuse to take a long, hard look at all your various objects and figure out what's really important to you versus what just taking up space. Take everything that falls into the latter category and donate it. You will feel more comfortable in your home and you will have done a bonus good deed. So by practicing and following minimalism, it reduces excessive waste. Around $1.2 trillion a year is spent on buying non-essential items in the US alone. So this entire amount could have been saved and used for other essential purposes. The average female spends approximately $1,25,000 on fashion accessories and clothing in a lifetime. Adopting a minimalist lifestyle prevent this, and you can spend as little as possible. And with the minimalist lifestyle, you begin appreciating solitude and silence. There is no pressure or guilt to live in a high maintenance lifestyle, and doing less feels rewarding. Minimalism makes one realize how useless most terms are in the long run, especially the just-in-case items. Your observation to collect and have more starts to wane, and you become more conscious about your purchases. Being a minimalist allows you to pay attention and listen to what your body is telling you about what is really important and what makes the necessary changes for a healthier lifestyle. Our lives are constantly scheduled out between job, school, workouts, childcare, etc. And we often forget how taxing it can be to always be moving one thing to next. Simply, this day gives us a chance to put all of these elements of our lives on pause, even if it is just mentally, and focus on the importance of the simple things. For Thoreau, a big part of living simply was getting away from the distractions of everyday life by spending time in nature. This could be in the woods, by a lake, or a beach. Although Simplicity Day is celebrated in the honor of Thoreau, the principles behind it go back further than the 19th century and span across many different cultures. From the founders of yoga practice to the monks of both Eastern and Western traditions, many groups of people through the ages have banded around philosophies that emphasize simplifying your life in both mental and material ways. Today is also commemorated as the Battle of Boyne's Day in Ireland. It is an Ulster Protestant festival on this day. So the fight of Boyne was a pivotal battle in Ireland's Williamite War. It was fought between King James II of England and Ireland, who had been overthrown, and King William III of England and Ireland. King James II was England's, Scotland's, and Ireland's final Catholic ruler, whereas King William III, often known as William of Orange, was a Dutch Protestant. Today we are also commemorating Etch a Sketch Day in US. A sketch is a mechanical toy used for the drawing. It's an invention by Henri Cassangers from France and was manufactured by the Ohio Art Company. The Etch a Sketch was introduced on July 12, 1960 and sold for $2.99, equivalent to $26 today. Being a classic, it has entertained and delighted generations of kids. Etch a Sketch Day is celebrated mainly by organizations, and everyone is encouraged to be creative and fun. So this was invented by Henri Cassangers, an electrician who branded the toy Electrian Magnet, the magic screen. In 1959, he took his drawing toy to the International Toy Fair in Nuremberg, Germany, where the Ohio Art Company saw it and acquired it. The Ohio Art Company launched the toy in the United States in the time of Christmas season in 1960. So Mark Etch a Sketch over 6 lakh units of the toy were sold during this time. The toy initially used a plate glass screen, but was replaced with plastic for safety reasons in 1995. The Etch a Sketch toy featured in 1995 Pixar animated film Toy Story. It had a 12-second feature that was enough to give a significant sales boost. So the production line had to work overtime to meet the demand. In 2001, manufacturing was moved to a plant in Shenzhen, China, to cut production costs. The Ohio Art Company was facing bankruptcy before securing financing to stay viable. So it sold the rights to the Etch a Sketch name and the design to the Toronto-based Spin Master Corporation in February 2016. The toy got into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 1998. In 2003, the Toy Industry Association named Etch a Sketch one of the most 100 memorable toys of the 20th century. Over the years, companies have created the products such as Doodle Sketch, a plug. So over the years, the company also created other products such as Doodle Sketch, a plug-and-play Etch a Sketch that allows users to draw on their TV screen. Currently, there is an official Etch a Sketch IT mobile app that lets you to create images and transform your photos into toy classic grayscale drawings. So Etch a Sketches since 1960 sold more than 145 million units worldwide. The original toy used a joystick which was replaced by 2 knobs before it hit the market. Originally, Etch a Sketch was manufactured in Bryan, Ohio by the Ohio Art Company. Cassanger's original name for his toy was Electrian Magnet, or the magic screen. Cassangers invented the Teleglide, a system to guide metal cars on track, and ski doodle and etch a sketch. Drawings aren't meant to be permanent, but some artists have used them to create professional artworks from temporary to permanent. Today, we are also commemorating Lawyers' Day in Mexico, which was first established in 1960 by the President Adolfo Lopez Mates. It is a day to recognize not just the lawyers, but their work as rights and justice advocates. It marks the day the first chair of law in Mexico was given over by Fray Bartolome Frias Albornoz at the Pontifical University. The Diario de Mexico, or Mexican paper, originally thought to use this day to acknowledge the start of legal profession in the country. During the Spanish royalty days, lawyers and jurists had different roles. Jurists engage in legal consultations and studies, while lawyers attend to the courts. Lawyers were distinguished The law has evolved with the changing times, and the lawyers are along with it. A lawyer's duty will always remain the same: act in best interest of their client and make sure justice prevails. Lawyers are called abogados in Mexico. Another type of legal professional are also the notaries public or notarius publicos. Students who want to become lawyers must complete 4 to 5 years of legal education, and after finishing the high school, and again, depending on the course, depending on the university they choose, it differs. The duration of law course. After a 4 or 5 year undergraduate program, a Mexican attorney can receive a law degree, or what's called Licenciatura en Derecho, in short known as LED. After registering as an LED graduate, they are already considered lawyers. So they don't need a bar exam to become licensed to practice law. So you can watch on this day, appreciate lawyers, if they are friend, relative, or you can also watch movies with lawyers such as Legally Blonde, The Accused, To Kill a Mockingbird, showcases different kinds of lawyers tackling various cases. The funny to serious, there's a lawyer movie that covers whatever mood you are in, and drop as many as legal or courtroom terms in your everyday speech. I object, guilty as charged, and withdrawn are some words or phrases you can use. So let's look at the qualities of a good lawyer. Being assertive, creative, articulate, patient, and compassionate. Lawyers who are assertive state their opinions and make themselves heard while continuing to remain respectful. Every client and case is unique. and the ability to think outside the box when searching for solutions is important for lawyers being creative. And they need to know the best way to communicate information clearly to the clients, judges, and juries. So articulation. And research and preparation for cases require patience, as well as the cases that stretch on for months to even years. So they need a lot of patience. And putting yourselves into other shoes is useful in understanding both your client and opponent. So lawyers needs to be compassionate. So regardless of what they have done, every citizen has a right to legal representation. Lawyers make people aware of their rights and the consequences of their actions. So lawyers, given the opportunity to use the law to change a person's circumstances, most often for the better. Helping people is one of the biggest rewards of being a lawyer. And lawyers are problem solvers. They can help prevent a problem from becoming one in first place. When problems do arise, they use their expertise to assist their clients. Today is also commemorated as National Different Colored Eyes Day. It is all about heterochromia iridium. It's okay. We don't know what it means at first either. So heterochromia iridium is a term for the variation of the color that gives a single organism two different colored eyes. It has been known to occur in the populations of many species since the dawn of recorded history and is an interesting sought-after trait. Only the lucky 1% of the population enjoys the special pigmentation, though there are three distinct types of heterochromia. Today, many people refer pets with this fun eye color difference, and colored contact lenses are used just to mimic the trait. All this is to say, give your friends with heterochromia a little extra love today. While today, people with two different colored eyes are likely to get a compliment that was far from the case of through history. For example, Native American Indians used to believe that those born with the unique coloring could see both heaven and earth through their ghost eyes. Because they have seen dogs born with this trait, they found it inhuman and ghostly. So many myths and fears have long been associated with heterochromia iridium. So including superstitions, beliefs that those with the trait were witches, were evil, could see beyond their own deaths and into afterlife, or could consort with ghosts and spirits. Since eyes are windows to the soul, ancient peoples who couldn't explain the abnormality quickly resorted to ghostly explanation that painted the trait as making someone less than human. Today, of course, our society finds it beautiful. However, it is not widely understood. So it can also either appear at birth or be acquired. Especially if it is acquired, it's recommended to see a doctor just to ensure that condition is in benign. While the vast majority of cases are completely harmless and simply pretty, some can indicate eye damage or that is another lying disease. Better safe than sorry. There are actually three kinds of heterochromia iridium: complete, segmental, and central. Central, the most common, appears as matching iris with different colors encircling the pupils. Many don't know this classifies as heterochromia iridium. Segmental heterochromia appears as different parts of the color of eye in one iris, and complete heterochromia is the most ironic, two rises of different colors. So whether genetic or not, the total percentage of the population with the trait is less than 1 So heterochromia iridis comes in many forms and many species. So spend some time looking it up today and learning more about what makes these lucky individuals so special. Heterochromia is usually a benign, that is, having two different colored eyes is almost never an eye disease and almost will never affect your vision. Stars like Dan Aykroyd, Mila Kunis, Henry Cavill, and many more have heterochromia. So the breeds of dogs that most often have heterochromia are Siberian Huskies, Australian Shepherds, Collies, Corgis, and Chihuahuas. Some animals like odd-eyed cats are bred specifically to have this genetic feature. Heterochromia is also mistaken for anisocoria. Anisocoria, which is when a person has two different pupil sizes, can sometimes be mistaken for having two different color irises. For example, take David Bowie, for examples. So it is also a celebration of biodiversity, and it's striking and captivating. The gaze from a person with two different color eyes is stunning. And it's artistically inspiring. Many pieces of art center on people with different colored eyes as striking gaze is so unique and inspiring. So today we are also commemorating New Conversations Day. It is set aside to encourage people to talk to each other, communicate their needs and intentions, and make new friends. So this day also acknowledges that starting a conversation is hard. It can be awkward and uncomfortable to start a conversation with someone you have just met. But new conversations can lead to incredible rewards like friendship and community. The special day is about potential of next relationships, new bonds, and a greater understanding. So the intention of conversation is always to understand the other person a little bit more. This lets people not only tolerate but appreciate the difference in opinion around them. Conversations are important for ensuring that people can live in peace with each other, and no matter how different they are, of how much they disagree. So, new conversations are always difficult with awkwardness and assumptions on both sides. People develop preconceived notions about each other based on appearance or hearsay, all of which need to be set aside for a new conversation to be productive. So it is an opportunity to participate in mindful conversation, to make a legal effort, to make a outsider or learn from them. Today is also commemorated as Night of Nights in US. So the Night of Night is celebrated annually on July 12th every year, which falls on today. It commemorates when the best commercial Morse code transmission in US was sent, and many years ago, messages usually are in Morse code. Now we have technology. Now we have pen, pencil, paper. We are buying it rather than utilizing So Morse code stations were once scattered along the US coastline, all communicating with ships at sea. Maritime mobile bands were populated with powerful stations operating from almost every country on every continent. So trade ships and passenger lines filled with air with their radiograms. The telegraph operates work tirelessly, even more when Morse code is a method used in telecommunication to encode text characters as standardization or standardized consequences of two different signal durations called dots and dashes or dits and das. Morse code is named after Samuel Morse, one of the inventions of the telegraph. So the letters SOS stand for nothing. The letters were chosen as an international distress signal because they were easy to transmit. Morse code S used 3 dots and O used 3 dashes. So not to mention that they were easy to remember and send. So until 1999, Morse code was the international standard for communication at sea. It was replaced by Global Maritime Distress Safety System, which used advanced technology such as satellite communication. So it keeps alive a maritime good road practice, radio practice. It preserves a part of maritime radio history. Today is also commemorated at Paper Bag Day. Which is also known as World Paper Bag Day, occurs on July 12th every year and celebrates humble paper bag. Today, millions of people choose to switch to paper bags for carrying their shopping, as well as widespread use of plastic and its harmful effects on the environment at large raises alarm bells in our collective consciousness. So how do paper bags and aid us in fight against environment and pollution and climate change? Firstly, paper is biodegradable, which immediately makes it a preferable alternative to plastic, which isn't. Paper bags are made of renewable raw materials, which encourage a sustainable lifestyle as they can be recycled. This gives our environment a bit of break too. Surprisingly, paper bags can be quite durable too, except when soggy. And they now have a more upmarket aesthetic appeal thanks to the high-end brands popularizing minimal and suitable packaging. So that really is the best choice for paper bags. Though it is unclear, we can summarize that it must have been founded in order to raise awareness about important environmental issues like climate change and promote a more sustainable lifestyle by introducing paper bags as alternatives to plastic bags. So when looking at this concept, the history in US, it can be traced back to American school teacher turned priest turned inventor, Francis Woolley. In 1852, he invented and patented the first paper bag making machine, for which he and his brother founded the Union Bag and Paper Company. They opened a paper plant in Savannah, Georgia, which employed 500 people and became a bit of tourist attraction as people would come to see 1,000 feet of paper flying by per minute. The plant is still there to this day. In 1871, Margaret E. Knight decided to refine Bowley's design by inventing a machine that would produce paper bags with flat boxy bottoms. This improvement earned her title of Mother of Grocery Bag, as it was the key template for the foldable paper bags as we use today. In 1883, Charles Stilwell tweaked Knight's design further, adding plated sides of the paper bag in order to make it easier to carry, fold, and store. He invented the machine to produce this design, and then in 1912, Walter Dubner added a cord to reinforce the paper bags and handles for ease of carrying. Thus, the final product, which is the paper bag of today, is clearly a combined effort of all these inventors. So we have to thank them. So instead of using plastic bags, you can use paper bags or jute or hessian bags, canvas or calico cotton bags, reusable paper bags, polypropylene green bags. And paper bags can sometimes be bigger than plastic bags, which means that when thrown in landfills, they can take up more space, and it can also take less energy to recycle plastic bags as compared to paper bags. But paper bags also require more energy to produce. So this being said, though the effect of paper bags on the environment is far less harmful as compared to the plastic bags. So switch to paper bags. And paper bags can also be fun too. Many craft activities can be done with kids utilizing old paper bags. Furthermore, paper bags can come in handy due to their alternative uses. As paper bags work better than wipers to clean windows, and many hacks and uses for paper ag. So learn how to recycle your paper bags if you are still in good condition. Store them carefully for reuse. If they are damaged, they could be used in composting as well as wrapping food items like garlic and onions and etc. And also find out more at your recycling center too. So paper bags can be used for gifting, composting, ripening fruit, crafting, window cleaning, and many more. And finally, by shifting to paper bags, you will be saving the planet. Heavy words we know, but simple conscious decisions like switching to paper bags and choosing recyclable materials for everyday use are what can help combat the universal challenges and ensure a sustainable life. Today is also commemorated as National Hair Creators Day. Which has been created by Zoto's Professional, part of Henkel Company's leading hair professional unit. It recognizes self-taught stylists all over the country who love to showcase their creativity in styling hair, and it promotes self-expression and helps encourage the artistry of budding hair creators. It is an opportunity for everyone to put their hairstyling skills on display. Today is also commemorated as National Eat Your Jello Day. Jello was trademarked in New York in 1987, but its classic dessert we all know and love. The best part of it is it comes in a variety of flavors and can be combined with many ingredients for a simple, delicious sweet and into different fun shapes. Today is also commemorated as Malala Day. It is an important day in global activism as it appreciates and celebrates the global icon, Malala Yousafzai. She broke the norm and rose to the prominence at a young age, advocating for human rights, particularly the right of women to have an education. So the day also commemorates Malala's birth and is celebrated globally as the international human rights organizations, the United Nations, and other prominent global citizens. Malala Day bears such significance because behind it is an unusual story of a young individual form, a humble bragger evolving into a global change agent. So today is also commemorated as Amazon Prime Day. So this is an annual festival. Generally, today is celebrated as Amazon Prime Day in US. In India, it is 15th and 16th of this July. So this is basically a promotion, commerce promotion by the 7th largest retailer in the world, that is Amazon. So generally, it has marked out the middle of the year as its own personal mega shopping holiday. So this year, it is from July 12th and 13th in US and 15th and 16th in India. So started in 2015 to celebrate Amazon's 20th birthday, Amazon's Prime Day has grown into a holiday rival to Black Friday and Cyber Monday in the US and Singles Day in China. So from relative humble beginnings, Prime Day is now biggest single day of shopping in the US with more than 100 million products sold during 2018's Prime Day. So it was growing in terms of length also, having steadily gone from 24 hours of savings to 30 hours, then 36 hours, and now a full 48 hours of epic deals. Leave it to Amazon to figure out how to double the hours in a day, thinking about how much Amazon can make you spend. So whether you are an Amazon elegant or an Amazon agnostic, there is no escaping the impacts of Prime Day. With free Amazon Prime account that is being offered and offers that lure you to go on a shopping spree. So be careful with these shopping festivals. If you are a shopping addict, then you can run into serious debts by shopping unwanted things. So finally, yesterday, as we had this special program, so we could not commemorate yesterday's commemoration. So we'll briefly look at few important commemorations. Yesterday was World Population Day. Hope many of you attended. So it was a day dedicated to focusing on importance of world population issues, as it was established by United Nations as a result of the massive interest people had in the 5 billion day in 1987. So as we dealt in detail, I'm not going to give much about this, but as you all know, World Population Day was established in 1989 by the Governing Council of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. The original day was decided to set World Population Day by the United Nations General Assembly through Resolution 45 by 2016 and made this official in December 1990 to be celebrated on July 11th every year since 1987. And yesterday was also All-American Pet Photo Day, which was dedicated to appreciating our lovable pets in US who make life better every single day. So while our pets almost always enjoy the limelight, the day encourages us to make it even more special and make them the main focus all day. So today people upload photographs of their pets on social media and share love for their furry or feathery friends with thousands of people online, which was started by Colin Page. And this entire week is also commemorated as Captive Nations Week, has been proclaimed for the third week of July every year since its inception. During the Cold War, a captive nation was one that was ruled by communists, particularly by Soviets. While there is no Soviet rule anymore, there are nations that are still under the control of non-democratic governments. And this week-long official observance aims to raise public awareness of the issues faced by these nations. So yesterday was also Cheer Up the Lonely Day, to organize a get-together today to help the word out and spread the spirit of friendliness. And yesterday was also International Essential Oils Day. For 25 years, at least, people have increased their use of essential oils. People use it by topical application on their skin or through other methods. The variety of strains and extraction from various plants result in different levels of purity and color as well. As essential oils cannot be patented either. So not everything can be patented. So International Essential Oils Day, in short known as IEOD, was created in 2018 when Jad Turner, the president of COO of Young Living, had an idea to celebrate essential oils on July 11th, which is birthday of Young Living's founder, D. Gary Young. He wanted to celebrate it in a way that honors Gary's life work and also gives back to the Young Living Foundation. Now, IEOD is a platform to raise awareness about sustainability process and Young Living seek to see quality commitment towards environmental protection. Young Living ensures the highest quality standards to its essential oil products, and people are encouraged to use official hashtag of this day when posting on social media. Over the years, essential oils have gained worldwide recognition for their versatility and the role they play in enhancing overall quality of life. So the 5 must-have essential oils for aromatherapy are lavender, rosemary, peppermint, frankincense, and sweet orange. Lavender essential oil is touted for the calming effects it has on the mind and body, thus helps to reduce anxiety. Some of the best sleep-inducing essential oils are lavender, chamomile, sandalwood. You can use them by using a carrier to rub some oil on your body parts such as wrist, neck, and forehead, hands or feet. You can even feel light with some aromatherapy candles or put oils in the air diffuser. So plant a tree to preserve the environment. People are encouraged to plant trees of any botanicals on this day to preserve the environment. You can start using gardening journey by planting seeds or medicinal herbs or plants in your home, or do it in your making of a greener future. And you can also enjoy the aroma. So essential oils come in multiple fragrances such as peppermint, cedarwood, lavender, lemon, and many more. These days, essential oils are commonly used in diffusers to create an aromatic experience in closed rooms. Essential oils, when diffused in a room through candles or diffusers, can help you to increase atmospheric oxygen in a room. Quite surprisingly, only less than 1% of the entire plant species population can produce essential oils. And essential oils may not necessarily be the oils, they are also extracted nutrients from the plant. So essential oils comes with a range of health benefits depending on the oil. These can aid in digestion and menstrual cycles, relieving stress, elevating nausea, boosting immunity, soothing headaches, and improve the skin. Essential oils are also concentrated plant extracts. They are prepared with a process called steam distillation, and it must be ensured that the plants are not treated with pesticides. The amount of meticulousness that goes into making these oils is commendable. We often tend to use products in our daily lives that are infused with chemicals. We may not realize it, but they could have negative effects in the long run. Essential oils are prepared without use of chemicals, which makes them organic, pure, and safe to use. However, one must check the usage of essential oils around plants and animals. Yesterday was also Care Puja in India, which is celebrated 2 weeks after Karchi Puja, another popular celebration festival primarily in small northeastern Indian state of Tripura. It's a 2.5 day celebration festival for worshipping Care, the guardian deity of Vastu Devata. And this year it is also celebrated from July 11th to 13th. So yesterday, today, and tomorrow, 3 days, it is being celebrated in Northeast. All banks and government institutions in Agartala, state capital, are usually closed for 3-day observance. Residents of the capital are not only required to be at home during the puja, but also desist from any form of merriment. If you ever visit Agartala around July or August, and to your surprise, find the city locked and silent in the morning, you probably have arrived during Care Puja. So we assume that the newly established Tripura government agreed with the regent of Tripura in 1949 that all pujas, temples, and religious festivals in the state would be sponsored. Because Care Puja is observed 2 weeks after the celebration of Karchi Puja, which doesn't have a fixed date, it is observed on different dates of the year. The celebration is primarily centered in Agartala and generally takes place from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. On the day of festival, the city's entrance is locked and people from outlying areas are restricted from entering the area. Temporary restrictions are put on lighting fires, wearing shoes, dancing, and other forms of merriment. Any person who fails to observe these regulations is required to pay a fine, and the puja would have to start afresh. To prevent breaking the rules, the elderly, weak, and pregnant women are moved to nearby villages. The royal palace of Tripura has long served as the principal site of the celebration. The chantal head priest takes precedence over any authority on the day. A large piece of bamboo is curved into symbolic representation of care and is then swung around at such a speed as to produce sound. The celebration is declared upon by a loud bang early in the morning and is closed by the same sound. So Care Puja is said to have been started by the Tripura monarchs of the old, known simply as the Tripura Rajas. The celebration of Karchi Puja, a precursor to Care Puja, is largely attributed to the Queen Hirabati's legendary story that took place at the river Maharani. Since Care Puja is an extension of Karchi Puja, the female monarch is associated with Care Puja. Care is a designated area or boundary where no one is allowed into. That is why the city of Agartala is shut off from any visitors over Kher Puja. So if you are spiritual, pray to the guardian deity for peace, protection, and prosperity. Even if you are not spiritual, you can explore other means. Offerings can be smaller if you are also so inclined, such as fruits or special items, and offer a sincere, generous sacrifice to care. Observe the day by respectfully adhering to the rules and regulations set by the authorities during the celebration. If the rules are not obeyed, there will be consequences. Tripura was an independent Hindu kingdom before joining the Mughal Empire in 1600s. The Ujjayanta Palace and Nir Mahal are examples of the architectural brilliance in Tripura. Before Mughals, these Muslim kings has invaded. We all know India was a long-standing Hindu state. After these Muslims invaded and these Britishers and other people like from France and Britain, when they Portuguese, they invaded and they started converting people into Islam and Christianity. And that's how even Christianity and Islam was never in India. But with these foreign people who came for trade in India, has slowly started along with their trade converting people. And that's how even the Christianity, Islam and other religions which were not available, which were not prevailing in India, slowly started in India. So basic education from children aged 6 to 14 years are entitled to free education in Tripura. Even that is also widely followed by all the states because it's enforced by the constitution and law. And with a literacy rate of 85%, Tripura is the third most literate state in India. And Kher Puja is an indication that deities are greatly revered in Tripura. For those who are spiritual, it is a day of love and peace. Because of the strict no disturbance rule laid down during Kher Puja, violence of all kinds is kept at bay. This means the deities can be worshipped in peace and tranquility, and celebrations don't have any disruption. And the Kher Puja celebration is a period where all inhabitants respect to a large degree and regulations set for peaceful celebrations. We love any occasion whereby people can come together and celebrate. So July 11th is also commemorated as National Culture and Senior Citizens Day, which celebrates the traditions of Kiribati, including its emphasis on appreciating seniors in their society. So councils of chiefs ruled islands. Members of these councils were the oldest and most experienced people on the island. Today, most decisions are made by the courts and national government of Kiribati, and the tradition of honoring the elderly remains. Their councils are consulted on many social, political, and economic issues, acting as a sounding board for many decisions. And July 11th is also commemorated as National Polyphenol Day. Is a day dedicated to polyphenols, which is a type of micronutrient found in plants. These micronutrients work as natural energy boosters and can give a variety of health benefits as well as protection from aging-related damage. Extra virgin olive oil, dark chocolate, and dark-colored fruits like pomegranates and chokeberries are examples of polyphenol-rich foods. A diet rich in polyphenols is recommended by Dr. Stevenson Gundry, a distinguished cardiovascular surgeon who specializes in nutrition and the treatment of aged people. Supported mental clarity and a healthy heart are two potential benefits of a polyphenol-rich diet. So whenever you see dark-colored fruits, you always consume them. So that will improve your longevity and that will give you a lot of energy. So black beans and white beans also have the highest number of polyphenols. So eating these are very good, and polyphenols are also found in virgin coconut oil. And at least you have to take 0.035 ounces of polyphenols per day. So there are over 4,000 varieties of polyphenols, and polyphenols are a type of environmental protection used by plants. Polyphenols help the microbiome by nourishing the healthy bacteria in our intestines, and the higher the polyphenol concentration, the darker or more bitter the fruit of a tree or vegetable. Cloves have the largest amount of polyphenols of any food seasonings. That's why they are dark in color and are polyphenol rich. So you can consume cloves as well as part of your tea, herbal tea, or as part of your cooking. So they are found everywhere in nature. You don't need to spend a fortune to enjoy the benefits of polyphenols. Fruits and vegetables, as well as these are excellent sources which can be found in your homes. And plant-based diets have been linked to a lower risk of cancer in numerous studies. So polyphenols contains potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties which can help you to prevent cancer. Polyphenols encourage the growth of healthy gut bacteria while inhibiting the growth of dangerous bacteria. Green tea polyphenols may aid in the battle against dangerous germs and improve peptic ulcer and inflammatory bowel disease symptoms. So July 11th is also commemorated as National Swimming Pool Day. And it is not just a celebration of swimming pools, but also of all the paraphernalia that accompanies pools, such as pool toys, accessories, and swimwear. And swimming is universal. Acknowledge that swimming is favorite summertime activity all over the world. Therefore, knowing that people all over are swimming too makes all more enjoyable pastime. And there are the myriad forms of the pools can take an exciting to learn about and hopefully experience. There may be some pools you want to visit that are even on your bucket list. And given the heat, we honestly cannot think of a better way to spend lazy summer days than inside or beside the pool. Not only it is a foolproof way to stay cool, but it also helps with getting exercise and is generally very enjoyable where there are no natural water resources or bodies where we can go for swimming. And July 11th is also commemorated as World Benzodiazepine Day. It is a day to create awareness and educate public about the dangers of long-term use of benzodiazepines, frequently prescribed for mental health conditions like anxiety, insomnia, and seizures. These benzodiazepines are psychoactive drugs. While they seem harmless, they are easy to overdose. We know even many research says psychoactive or psychotic drugs are only efficient up to 3%. And most of the or psychotic drugs are being abused. So unnecessarily, people are prescribing and people are consuming because of the misdiagnosis. So always, it's better to consult a psychologist rather than a psychiatrist, unless and until things have gone out of your hands. Because unnecessarily taking psychotic drugs will alter your psyche temporary or permanently. Because every medicine has a side effect, and especially psychotic drugs have huge side effects rather than benefits. But if you have reached at a point where death is better than life, or sorry, life is better than death, so that is the point where you can go for psychotic drugs. So the primary concern with benzodiazepines is severe physical dependency cultivated due to prolonged prescriptions, and that is what World Benzodiazepine Awareness Day seeks to address. So this annual observance serves to give awareness and educate general people about the dangers of this when used over long periods. On their own, when prescribed for a short term, they can improve symptoms of anxiety, insomnia, and seizures. However, when these drugs are used for longer than 2 or 4 weeks, or with other medication or alcohol, they can have detrimental effects, including overdose. Long-term usage of benzodiazepines can affect individuals with anxiety and agitation, making their symptoms worse over time rather than improving them. Using these drugs for longer than 4 weeks can also worsen feelings of suicide, ideation, and depression in individuals already experiencing these mental health issues. So these benzodiazepine drugs long-term result in dependency. Even when used at low dosages, ordinary, everyday people become unknowingly dependent on benzodiazepines after long-term prescriptions. They become addicted. So this day was initiated by activists who survived benzodiazepine injury and wanted to bring awareness to the dangers of this drug and growing problem of the people developing a dependence on the drug unknowingly. The day also encouraged medical practitioners to follow basic principles when prescribing benzodiazepines and other psychotic drugs to ensure patients know the side effects and dangers of long-term use. These principles encourage doctors to support patients who are long-term users of the drug and prevent injury and wean them off the benzodiazepines onto a safer medication. So in the US alone, about 30.6 million adults use benzos. And diazepam and clozaripate are the long-acting and better for long-term use. So these are the good substance like SSRIs, SNRIs, and beta blockers are great non-addictive substances for benzos. Manufacturers of benzos got sued for not warning against the dangers, and it led to a class action lawsuit. Often these pharma companies and these medical and health professionals, they don't warn patients about the side effects. They just simply prescribe. Of course, there are various other reasons also for not doing that, because they have very limited time and they don't get, they get to see a lot of patients, so they cannot give. Here, counselors, psychologists, social workers can play a greater role. That has, that's why every hospital or a clinic or an establishment need to have a counselor or a psychologist or a social worker, so that where a medical or a psychiatric specialized counselor or a psychologist or a social worker can help the patients with the side effects and various other nuances of using these drugs. The majority of dependents of benzos use prescription dosages for mental health, and medical complications develop among the elderly due to their sensitivity to this drug. And its physical and psychological, patients develop tolerance to the effects of drug, resulting in physical dependence. The severe nature of withdrawal symptoms is due to poor management of these symptoms. So we want people to be informed. We think people prescribed benzos should be aware of their effects. We want to make them sure that people who need drug are making an informed decision. We want to understand if medical practitioners have the information they need about benzos so that they can prescribe them at the right time. We also want to raise awareness of the drug-related injuries among medical professionals. We think dependence on benzos is avoidable if people are aware of the effects of the drug. We want to help limit the long-term use of benzos across the world. So with this, we conclude today's and also yesterday's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. Don't worry about the certificates. When they are available, you can download it from the website. But do complete all the formalities, do register on a daily basis, and keep attending and keep filling up the feedback form so that you are eligible for the certificates. At once, we will issue all the certificates. So don't worry, on a daily basis. Thank you everyone for joining us. Before leaving, quickly fill up the feedback form. See you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock with the same link with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.